What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of the Celebrity Jump. Recently, there was a Verzuz battle between Fat Joe and Ja Rule. And, you know, Fat Joe, in one of his lines, he decided to call Lil Mo and Vita dusty bitches who live in crack houses. Okay? Now, I don't know if it's just bars or anything like that, but we do know that Lil Mo had a really big drug problem at one point, and Lil Mo can sing her ass off. I'm just gonna be real. Lil Mo is an excellent talent back in the day, and certain people are also taking this as, okay, here we have Fat Joe calling two black women dusty. It's vile and triggering. And 50 Cent was upset that, you know, he came out and apologized about what he said. But, you know, people are mixed on the opinion, okay? And we got to talk about certain cultural differences with somebody like Fat Joe. I believe that we got to talk about this because I'm from the West Coast, right? On the West Coast, we don't have a lot of Dominicans or Puerto Ricans. All right, we just don't. We don't have and I believe that Fat Joe is either Puerto Rican or Dominican. I believe he is that, if I'm not mistaken, Puerto Rican and Cuban descent. So by and large, in the Bronx, people that are Puerto Rican and people who are Dominican and Cuban, they run in the same car as the blacks. Okay, now guys, if I'm wrong about this, let me know. I know brothers and sisters are like that in Philadelphia. Our brother George was telling me, like, even Ethiopians run hardcore body with the African Americans. You know, he said you might even have gangs where you might have an African American and a Ghanaian go shoot up, you know what I'm saying, two African American dudes. Or you might have, you know, African American and Nigerian go shoot at two Dominican dudes. It's like that out there in Philly and the East Coast. Where I'm from, in Sacramento, and this is probably from what those, when I came up in the West Coast, if you had Hispanics in certain parts of California, they stayed over there, we stayed over here. It was like that from the prison system on outside, for the most part. Some people, there were exceptions, and Northern Cali was exceptions. But for the most part, you know, the other groups, the Ethiopians, Nigerians, I think sometimes we didn't really do a lot of intermixing, you know, on the West Coast as much as you saw it on the East Coast, where people lived in close proximity to one another. So what I gotta say is, if somebody like Fat Joe grows up amongst blacks and he considers himself a part of being black, from what I understand, when he calls Lil Mo dusty crack broads, is he really dissing sisters? I don't see it as that. I don't see it as that. I see it as just as hip hop. This is the culture and the era they grew up in. You know, you calling her a dusty crackhead, whatever. I think what other people may be looking at it as, okay, here you have this Puerto Rican guy. He's dissing African American women. Where's our protection? And if you come at it like that, then you gotta really denounce like the fact that Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, and African Americans, and then the Caribbean guys and the Jamaican guys and Trinidadian guys, they really all run together in the same cars a lot of times. In Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Harlem, from what I understand in Philly, from what I understand in certain parts of Baltimore, that's how it is. But I understand where they're coming from, because I know for a fact this is going to be true. If Ja Rule would have called two Puerto Rican chicks dusty crackhead whores, the Puerto Rican community would have felt some type of way. If they were Dominican, they would have felt some type of way. Although we run in the same cars. I don't know if that makes sense. So even though I don't feel like what he did was intentional or racist, because I don't think Fat Joe is racist. I think that, Fat Joe's is part of the, is a part of the culture. And it was a diss, and that's what it was. Because Dusty can be anybody. But on the flip side, I do understand that if we do it to them, there's going to be bigger backlash. So then you see the dichotomy that happens in hip hop. So the question is, at what point do you want to integrate with other people? And when you integrate with other people, here's the issues that you could be getting. And then when you bring in people like ADOS, and some folks get mad about that, and Yvette Carnell and things like this. What do you really say, right? Because it could cause a lot of confusion, right, between the camps. When it's like, okay, we all black, or we all share in the same black heritage, and a lot of Puerto Ricans say that, a lot of Afro-Latinas say that, and a lot of Caribbeans say that, and then you get the Michael B. Jordan situation where he had that wine that was coming out, and then Nicki Minaj was like, wait, hold on, you can't say that because you're Caribbean. A lot of the Trinidadians was like, no, you can't say that. But they can say it, but you can't say it. That's the problem here. And it looks like other minority groups who are affiliated with the black community, whether it's in, hip hop or entertainment or whatever, they get much more of a pass to do these things, and it's easily forgiven. If we do it, it's not forgiven. I've noticed that. Very, very, very much. And what do you do now? Because if you try to start making yourself like, well, all right, we're gonna beat our own devices, then you looked at as racist. Oh, you don't like Dominicans? Oh, you don't like the other African groups? Then if something like that happens with them, then you looked at it as, oh, well, why are you disrespecting our people? That's what we're looking at right now. And like I said, if you do it for him, if you want to get mad and say, Fat Joe is disrespecting black women, then okay, that's where the rubber kind of meets the road. Now, to be honest, Lil Mo wasn't as upset about it, right? But I don't know, man. What do you guys think? This is very interesting to me, so I want to know your opinion. It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of Celebrity Junk. I really appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. Check out the first comment at the top. And as you know, the buffoonery remains at an all-time high. I'm out.